Few days ago, Ukrainian and Belarusian, but sort of like anti-Lukashenko Belarusian hacker groups have hacked, I guess that would be the right word, one of the biggest sort of, what do you call them, airlines in Russia, specifically the Aeroflot, the basically it's a Russian owned sort of airlines, and it meant that pretty much almost all the flights were stopped. I have a few nice pictures of basically Russia being almost completely devoid of any airplanes going above it. And yeah, this is something that happened. We'll talk about exactly what happened, as well as sort of seemingly new tactic that the Ukrainians, let's say, are taking against the Russian state. And as we'll see from one Russian representative, the Russian people. Joining me today is Alex. Welcome to the Daily Objective. Alex, can you tell us a little bit more about what exactly happened?
Okay, so it's been, first of all, that this I want to be quite clear that this idea that it is Ukrainian civilians and Belarusian civilians that did this, well, they took responsibility for it, right? However, this is nation states, right? I would say that this is probably the Ukrainian military intelligence, right? Like their cyber unit. Normally, what you would do, what is very typical for organizations to do, is to have like a hacktivist sort of front group, right? That they like Russia has like anonymous Sudan, right? They run a whole bunch of things directly from the GRU, and I believe so does Ukraine, right? Because the tactics that were employed, it was all of the techniques of a well-oiled nation state cyber division. And Aeroflot, it's not just an airline. It's really part of the military, okay, as well. It has military components, right? In addition to being the largest, it's the national carrier of Russia, Aeroflot. And just in such typical Russian kind of irony, um, uh, yes, these hackers were good, okay, but they weren't anything that special. Um, and what I mean by that is that in typical Russian style, the guy who was responsible for Aeroflot's cybersecurity was like a political appointee, like he just played the game right, and he'd been given this job. And these are the results, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, really just a joke in terms of like OPSEC, just so I mean, of course the hackers are good. I'm not trying to diminish this great accomplishment, but it always has to come with a side of, would this have happened to American Airlines? I don't think so. Because in American Airlines, I assume that the guy who was the chief information security officer was not appointed because he was friends with Trump. It's highly unlikely. So first of all, what they meant, well, I'll let you maybe go a little bit further, Daniel, before I get into the technical, not the technical, but kind of what it is that happened here.
Well, I want to go first into the technical, so I'll give it to you in a second. But I should mention, I'm not sure if we did mention it, but yeah, I think this shows kind of the failure of cronyism, right? Like this company
Mhm.
is not a private company. Well, it's technically a private company. It's basically
I don't
what you
think
call
so. Is it not? Is it
it's
not
a
an
it's an
it?
open joint stock
Okay,
company, so but only like 26% of the shares can actually be like bought
right.
publicly.
The government
So
owns 74% or something.
yeah,
Yeah,
the government owns about 74%, which means anything above 50% is basically
right.
total control. So as you say, when it comes to the CEO,
Hmm.
the I think it was mentioned, right? The way they they got into some of his information is the fact that he didn't change his password since 2022, as well as he apparently had outdated version of Windows. So
They all do. They all will, because in Russia, you don't get genuine software, right? In Russia, like the vast majority of software is going to be pirated. So it's just kind of the way that they do things. They had outdated versions of everything. And yeah, because it's kind of like eh, who attack who ransoms a Russian airline? You know what I'm saying? It's like who is actually going to do that, right? Because it's American Airlines is scared of Russians. So in Russia, all of the kind of the most of the gangs are controlled in some capacity by the government, right? Or they're afraid of the government. And so for them, like, to break in to Aeroflot and demand a ransom, it's kind of it's kind of like somebody robbing the Sopranos. It's sort of like, it's kind of like it's like another Italian family robbing the Sopranos at home, to steal some jewelry. It's kind of like, oh, you're really gonna do that? Like, we're gonna shoot you in the head.
yeah, absolutely. And so yeah, I have a few questions, and I'm wondering when we should take it. So let's, I mean, maybe just talk a little bit about the sort of the damage that it's being done. At least now, I think I have this from the spokesperson for the one of the groups, who said basically the way the problem that Russia has is because their IT software is basically down, is they have to handle everything manually, which makes it really expensive, which means they are basically doing it just to keep face. I think like publicly they are saying that things are handled, things are sort of under control, and of course they don't even admit, as far as I'm aware, that this was like a cyber attack. It's basically said, oh, just IT software is down. So
Mhm.
yeah, can you tell us a little bit about sort of the amount of damage?
Yeah. So I mean, like on the back of the wall here, I have like a attack chain, right, of a cyber system, right? So the way that they initially got in, it's believed, is probably from like one of the employees had a compromised credential or a compromised machine that was compromised by another group of hackers, and that it gets sold on the dark web, right? So they probably bought that at some point. Many people would have bought it. And from there, we're understood that they were dormant inside of the system, right? Just kind of observing what it is that's going on, kind of doing corporate espionage, I suppose, right? And the techniques that they use is a technique called account takeover. It's when you hijack an active cookie session. And once you do that, you're like directly into the session. So that from there, what you want to do is you want to then escalate like the privilege to get to like the most like privileged person who has access to the databases. Okay. I mean, I'm trying, I mean, this a very crude way of describing it. Okay. So they managed to get in and they wipes everything, right? And like terabytes of data. I can't remember yeah, 12 terabytes of data. That's like so it I can't even it's like too big for me to even comprehend, to tell you the truth, right? So they exfiltrated this, which is, so you can imagine this. You're in the situation room at Aeroflot, okay? You're part of the cyber division, okay? You were appointed because you're a good FSB, person. um you know, the pandemonium, everything is going wrong, help me, help me, help me. They bring in the big kahunas, right, the big cyber expert from outside, and he tells them, shut it, disconnect everything from the power, because it's like you can imagine, because they're just exfiltrating all of the data. You're just standing there like, oh my gosh. It's literally like, imagine you're getting robbed and the bank, and you just see the money go down right in front of your eyes. So all of the flights, I understand, were canceled. I think it will take them something like 6 months to get everything I mean, they'll never recover in a way because, right, your reputation will never recover. Not that Aeroflot had like that good a reputation before. Um, and also I think it's important for us to remember now that this is coming at the same day as the drones, right? So it feels to me like the front line is not in Kharkiv or Zaporozhye, any of these places. It's in Moscow. The front line is in Moscow. And I think I think that the Russian civilians and especially the upper echelons who were very upset about their vacation in Sochi, being being, being temporarily, inconvenienced. I think it's really gotten to them. I think it's really started to make them sort of realize, oh, we're exposed. Like we're maybe in like some real trouble over here.
Yeah, and that sort of, I want to watch the video now. That sort of brings me to the idea I had for the title of this episode. I'm wondering who everybody caught that, but it's Make Russia Howl. And it's, of course, a reference to General Sherman from the Civil War, who basically went into the countryside and tore up everything inside of the South instead of just fighting, fighting on the fields. And we see a similar thing. Instead of Ukraine focusing on fighting on the fields, it looks like increasingly, I mean, their drone strike ability is probably at this point unparalleled when it comes to the rest of the world because of how much experience they have, because of how much successful they are being with it. We have a super chat from Bonnie and super chat from Jeff. Thank you both so much. So let's listen to this woman. I'm wondering if I should say who she is before or after. I'll keep it for after. So let's watch.
Украина и все они пытаются устроить бунт у нас. Они зачем устраивают коллапс в наших аэропортах в разгар курортного сезона? Зачем они на этой неделе пустили, я даже не знаю сколько беспилотников, но огромное количество на Сочи и на Сириус? Это какие такие военные объекты в Сириусе? Это одна большая школа. Мои дети, которые в этот момент были там, а я была в Москве, ночь провели в коридоре в количестве 9 человек. 3 наши с Тиграном, 2 всегда с нами живут племянники, еще на лето приезжают, естественно, там крестники, родственники. Вот эти 9 детей в повалку на полу в коридоре спали. Это вот все зачем делается? Какая у этого тактика военная? Тактика одна. Сделать так, чтобы люди, которые, в общем, нейтрально относятся к происходящему, не болеют ни за детей Донбасса. Есть же такие люди, таких людей много, я без всякого осуждения к ним отношусь. Я считаю, что не все должны быть политизированы, люди разные. Они пытаются расшатать этих людей с тем, чтобы они стали политизированы, но в другую сторону. С тем, чтобы возможность улететь отдыхать куда-то на море для них стала важнее, чем будущее страны. А будущее страны – это и есть исход СВО. А исход СВО – это, такая вот необходимость мириться с тем, что вот дети спят в коридоре. Иногда можно куда-то не улететь, и отпуск, может быть, даже придется отменить. Они пытаются сделать так, чтобы мы сами себя победили, и в результате сами себе проиграли, как мы уже делали дважды в 20 веке, в его начале и в его конце, к сожалению.
Okay, so for people on the podcast version of this, I'll summarize the main points she made a bit later. But this is Margarita Simonian, the editor-in-chief for RT, or formerly known as Russia Today, the Russian state-controlled broadcaster. And I love to see this. She's talking about, what are these Ukrainians trying to do? They're trying to stage a revolt. They are, trying to do this right before the holiday season, trying to collapse it. They are trying to push the people who are neutral about the, not even calling it war, the special
Right.
military operation. People who are neutral about it. People who are neutral about it, should do something. Or,
Yeah.
it's trying to convince them.
Oh, the irony. You may not know this, Daniel, but around just me,
No, no,
Oh,
I'm still here. I need to go
sorry.
for a second. I can still hear you. I just need to run away for a minute. I'll be right back. So, yeah, if you can just
Okay,
keep talking for a bit.
absolutely. So I find it quite interesting that this woman is really kind of crying about all of the woes of the Russian elite who are no longer able to go to Sochi. When a couple of years ago, the the GRU shut down the Ukrainian power grid. Um, they did it a second time with the aim to actually cause a power surge and potentially even kill people. And you may not know this, Daniel, but did you know that Ukraine, about 15 years ago, might not be exact on the date, actually had a landslide election in favor of a far right neo Nazi party? Did you know that?
I'm trying to think 15. Wait, who was 15 years ago?
Well, there you go. So the Ukrainians had an election and the Russians hacked it in order to show that some guy who got like, I don't know, some like basically neo-Nazi far-right guy who got a couple of percent. They made it so that it would look like this guy got a landslide. So already placing the seeds of the Ukrainian Nazi line in the ether, right, out there. Okay, so this has been going on for a very, very, very long time, and that story, by the way, is still the story, that the only story about that election that was even published in Russia. Okay, like they still believe, like they're still telling the people that that's actually what happens. I mean, that you have the, like I said, the NotPetya hack. I mean, it is incredible that just, even I want to say something as well, because we're kind of laughing and saying, oh yeah, it managed to, people couldn't use Aeroflot, they couldn't go on their vacations, but that's great. Definitely put pressure on the government, bring it home, uh what's happening. Maybe there are a lot of Russians who are feeling, I suppose, like a, what do you want to call it, a um who are trying to fight back, right? And it is difficult, and they're trying to leave. There is even an underground so that people can leave. But another thing that they managed to obtain here was actually data about kidnapped Ukrainian children, right? So they say that they managed to get servers containing documentation confirming the forced relocation of children from Kherson, Zaporozhye, Donetsk, Luhansk, and the names and where it is that they've actually been sent. So this is, and now they're saying that they've handed these files on over to the law enforcement agencies. And I do believe that these files are real, because I've seen some, what do you want to call it? I've seen some samples, right, of this data, because hackers talk a lot of crap basically most of the time, right? They're liars. So this is this is not BS. This is the real deal, and which I think is amazing, and also like military technology as well, and the names of FSB agents and the, yeah, I mean, a ton. I mean, their Aeroflot is kind of hand in glove with like the FSB. I mean, the whole of their cyber, like the Russian cyber, what do you want to call it? Like industry is just another wing of the GRU. So so that's why, like, don't use Russian cybersecurity products. Like, there are a lot out there. Don't use them. That's all I can really say to you. Even if they're cheap, don't bother to do it, because a lot of them haven't been sanctioned, and people don't even realize it. Sometimes you can buy a laptop and it already has like Russian antivirus installed on it, because once upon a time, kind of before people knew the truth about Russia, like, what's the major what's the major like electronic shop in the United States? There's like one major one. It's not Target, but it's something similar. They sold you this product that was spying on you, right? It was the Russian state spying on you. But yeah, I find it, yeah, I find it incredible the that they're managing to do this. And I think that the response is also, it's really just hilarious. You have to say, lady, do you live in an alternative reality? Probably. You have to, I suppose, right? In order to do this job, you probably have to. Oh, and I'm not sure if you know this, Daniel. I kind of mentioned it to you earlier, but do you know that the Russians are planning on not replacing, but having another angle to Holocaust International Holocaust Memorial Day called the day dedicated to Russophobia. Okay, I mean, it's just, what are we talking about here? But yeah, it was Best Buy. Sorry, Deborah, it was Best Buy.
Yeah, just to mention a few things. First, some troll in the chat is saying Russia was founded in Kiev, which is actually really funny revisioning of history. The fact that Russia is trying to like, this is like Ukrainian history straight up. Like, they are trying to appropriate.
But still, it is. I mean, like, it's crazy to even, Russia was founded in Kiev. Yeah, because Russia is an empire which was like, is the direct descendant of the Ukrainian empire, right? Kievan Rus. So yeah, I'm not really sure what you're trying to say here.
I mean, it's some weird justification of like why you know. I mean, this is what the whole Russian propaganda is about, right? It's this, like, the it's almost like a Russian destiny to basically control, to take back, and I'm using that very weirdly. But well, first we have a few super chats. Paul Zeus, thank you so much. He says, "Stop the scooters too." This is a secret. We cannot say anything about that. But for people who want to learn more, they should become an Ayn Rand Center UK members and join our WhatsApp groups. We also have a super chat from Jonathan. Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, what did I want to bring up? Something I also want to bring up is, she talks about how, well, one thing the woman also mentioned, Margarita Simonian, the editor-in-chief for RT, she talked about, maybe we have to be inconvenienced because of, the Russian destiny sort of relies on the outcome of the special military operation. So, yeah, I mean, this amount of, like, you have to sacrifice, I think really speaks about that Ukraine is doing the right thing by, taking it to the population. This is what you have to do. You cannot just fight military. You wanted to jump in?
No. I saw a message in the chat that people can't hear you.
No, it's a troll.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, sorry.
So yeah, absolutely. Ukraine, what they need to do is, again, do things like that. The fact is that Russia will be able to fight for as long as possible, as long as there is a popular, or not even necessarily popular, support for the war itself, but not enough opposition to the war. Once you start taking it to them, once you again, because they don't care if they have to send some poor children from Siberia or from bordering regions to fight the war in Ukraine. When it starts hurting the sort of the families and the children of the people who
Afghanistan.
Of the people who are actually controlling the Russian state, or who are the sort of the elite class, that's when you start actually achieving the goals you need.
Well, maybe not even, because I mean, when you look back at the Russian, like, times when There really has been kind of revolts. I would say it was when you had the submarine, right, with the Russian submarine, where all of the soldiers died. In fact, I don't know if they were soldiers or just seamen, but still, they died, and they didn't go down and save them. And also the babushkas. Okay, so there is, right. I would say I would say that definitely there is like historical, I don't know, like there appears to me to be historical precedent for this, that actually the babushkas can fight back if push comes to shove. And I feel that that really does have a good chance to stop the war and to bring things down. And I've been extremely excited by what I've been seeing coming out of the United States, by what I've been seeing coming out of Trump. Long may it continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, I think the number one thing that you should take from this episode is Ukraine is doing everything that Ukraine is doing is, what I like to say is Ukraine is applying the sanctions that EU is trying to implement. So, yeah. This is Ukraine should continue. This is the way to actually fight a war. And I guess just one last mention: if the UN is ever interested, taking children from a country and trying to take them away from their host country and trying to take it to your country is one of acts of genocide. Maybe we can actually focus on somebody who is actively committing genocide that we have evidence of. But no, ICJ is too busy with putting everything on Israel. Alex, any
Yeah,
last
and
thoughts?
also my last thoughts are just I want to raise a glass to all the morons who are still flying on Aeroflot, you know? I mean, like they haven't had access to any spare parts in over 3 years. They haven't been able to do anything with their fleets. I mean, how they are not falling out of the sky is truly it's truly a miracle. So to all of you people who are like flying on Aeroflot, maybe it's I have to admit I have flown on Aeroflot before. Um, uh, Actually, it was pretty nice, but but at the end of the day, Aeroflot, I think that the statistics is like you're 7 times more likely to be in a plane accident, like in a plane crash, basically. It's astronomically higher. And then when you take in the fact that they're getting what's it called? They're getting cyber attacked. They haven't been able to get the plane serviced in a while. And maybe the pilots, he's had a little bit to drink. So good luck to all of the good luck to all the passengers, the Aeroflot passengers. And actually, for a recommendation on this, I recommend Global Espresso TV. It has some really great information about the Ukraine war and also the cyber war. I'm just sending it over here to Daniel in case he wants to put it in the chat.
I'll put it in the chat in just a second. Somebody, I think, who was it? El Rito in the chat says Aeroflop. That I also had that same idea. I was thinking about putting it on a thumbnail, but yeah, it's definitely an Aeroflop now. With that, thank you, Alex, for joining me today. We still continue on the reality show. We'll talk about Occupy Gaza yesterday. So make sure to join us for that in just a minute or so. Thank you. We have a super chat from Jonathan. I'm not sure if I mentioned it. He said Team Alex, so thank you so much. And
Team Jonathan.
And with that, we'll see you in just a minute or so on the reality show. Thank you and bye-bye.